Good day, everyone, most especially to our advisor, Ma'am Sarami Bilyaza, together with our beloved panels and professors, Sir Ronnie Garcia and Professor Lovely May Prieto. Good day, Ma'am and Sir. I am Senesha Pugasan, together with Jessel May Yagong. We are the group Z3123, code 288. And today, we are presenting our study entitled The Effect of Having 3 times a Week Synchronous Class Among BPE Students in the COVID Era, Basis for Intervention Program. So, first slide, we have the introduction. Introduction. Coronavirus disease had a disproportionate impact on vulnerable groups, highlighting serious health disparities, particularly among youth. Recent data show that the COVID-19 pandemic had PA-related consequences on U.S. school-aged kids, including decreased PA involvement and increased sedentary behavior during home learning sessions compared to behavior the pandemic. So, COVID-19 also had direct repercussions on minority and low-income adolescents, such as increased poverty, lost learning opportunities, lower social, emotional, and health, and even greater school dropout rates due to the health crisis and closure of schools. Globally, the 2019 coronavirus disease outbreak has resulted in schools disclosure. During the peak months of April and May 2020, it is reported that over 1.2 billion children in 186 countries were absent from school. As nations continue to strive to reduce infection rates of COVID-19, there were about 33 countries worldwide school closures and more than 23 million children being affected worldwide. According to UNESCO 2021, most schools have used fast online teaching and learning approaches to reduce the impact of COVID-19 on student academic growth and assure the sustainability of learning. As a result, a large amount of the resources has been allocated to educate teachers and parents regarding online learning. From a technological point of view, many online platforms such as Zoom, Blackboard, Canvas, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams have also been rapidly developed and modified to support online learning in a user-friendly way. In the Philippines, during the pandemic, the Ateneo Loyola School physical education program switches to online learning. Teachers and coaches examine many strategies and approaches with originally and ingenuity to teach the students the necessary skills and competencies in giving reconstructed PE classes that can be completed separately at home. Furthermore, the approach necessitated an openness to a new way of teaching and learning PE during this health crisis. The teacher had to rethink how they thought and interacted with their students in order for them to be easily taught and understood online. The department also opted not to offer PE classes such as swimming, breakdance, and a few team and combat sports until on-site instruction resumes for safety and practical reasons. To compensate, it increased the number of academic PE classes available, such as fundamentals of physical fitness and health, and some nutritional and sports exercises which are better suited to online learning. Moreover, during the face-to-face interaction of the students are very interested in their activities, and they're very excited. They can focus on their studies with fewer distractions than at home. When you're in school, it is much more convenient. Face-to-face communication enables students to access immediate feedback and assistance. When a student is in class, they can raise questions or seek assistance with specific topic as it is still fresh in their minds. Things change when the pandemic arises. The students need to stay at home for their own safety, and commonly study to their own virtual teaching may be helpful for some of us because it prevents us from catching coronavirus, but we have observed that virtual teaching affects the human interaction of the students, and also students from BPE can't fully interpret or execute performance properly. Some also encounters difficulty in terms of studying some of the students doesn't have consistent internet connection and sometimes power interruption. The teaching professionals has been changing at an impressive speed in recent times, something that the COVID-19 seems to be accelerated even more. So the researchers have not found any research study in local setting pertaining to the effects of having 3 times a week synchronous classes among BPE students in the COVID era, a basis for intervention program in the University of Mindanao Tagum College. This inspires the researchers to look into the impact of virtual teaching and how it may affect BPE students at the University of Mindanao Tagum College. So the significance of the study. When students feel connected to the learning environment and are engaged in learning that is meaningful and relevant to their lives, education is at its finest. This level of achievement can be attained in both regular and non-traditional academic settings. Because of the technological advancements of today's country's recent economic slump, the non-traditional type of education known as the distance learning is becoming more popular. The synchronous online classroom, also known as the virtual classroom, allows teachers and students to communicate in real time. They can ask inquiries and receive delayed or rapid responses using this method online distribution. Moreover, there are effects upon having this kind of setting, and this will be a basis for an intervention program to happen. The outcome of this study will aid in the enlightenment of the Commission on Higher Education, or the CHED, which is responsible in providing, promoting, and ensuring a quality education for all. Also, this serves as the awareness on how synchronous classes can affect the students' engagement. Additionally, to the university, as mentioned above, will apprise the issues in terms of after effects of having synchronous classes and its effect to the students, which are undeniably crucial. The result of this study will also help the administration to acknowledge the effects of having 3 times in a week meeting and will be a basis for intervention program to happen. In addition, the findings of this research will help the faculty and staff to know how they are going to address each student in a variety of configuration towards academic. Lastly, this study will also benefit the future researchers to utilize it for the research, reference for data gathering, and will help to be as their resources that will give them substructure in how they create and possibly use as they review related to this study. Review of related literature. The current study aimed to analyze the effect of student participation, teacher skills and strategies, teacher training, teaching domain, and teaching perception on the effectiveness of teaching while considering the challenges of online teaching in the current scenario of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the impact of the COVID-19 epidemic on the education sector has resulted in extensive school and college closures around the world. On March 24, India declared a nationwide school and college lockdown to prevent the spread of the coronavirus among students. So closures of schools in response to the COVID-19 outbreak have brought a lot of challenges limiting educational access. COVID-19 is on a rise and a large number of children, adults, and teenagers are unable to attend schools for colleges as a result. The impact of school closure on students' performance according to La and Bata is ambiguous. Similarly, schools closures can have an impact on students by disrupting teachers and student networks, resulting in low performance. So, Bridge 2020 reported that in order to minimize strain during the pandemic season, schools and universities are learning toward educational technologies for student learning. As a result, the current study's goal is to construct and evaluate a conceptual model of student satisfaction with online teaching during COVID-19, when both the students and teachers have no choice but to use the online platform for learning and teaching without interruption. So the UNESCO proposes that during school closures caused by the COVID-19, schools and teachers employ distant learning systems and open educational applications to teach their students and limit the disruption of education. As a result, many institutions opt for online classes. The e-learning framework has become increasingly popular as a dynamic platform for learning and teaching operations. E-learning is new online learning paradigm based on information technology. Academics, teachers, and other professionals, in contrast to the traditional learning, are eager to learn how e-learning might improve results and academic performance. The only way to find out is to look at the student satisfaction and performance. So the hypothesis. The study's hypotheses were tested that the 0.05 level of significance, and the results showed that there is no significant relationship between the effect of 3 times a week synchronous class among BPE students in the COVID era. Basis for intervention program. Theoretical framework. This study is anchored to the equivalence theory of Holmberg's 1989 theory of distance education, which is also known as the theory of interaction and communication. The theory indicates a descriptive value in relating the effectiveness of teaching to the impact of the feelings of the beholder, as well as its cooperation. Holmberg also highlighted that the distance teaching will be victorious to the extent that it supports students' motivations, learning pleasure, makes studies relevant, creates rapport, and engages learners in activities. Thus, Holmberg himself added that it was not entirely lacking in explanatory power. In fact, it is essential for effective distance education. In addition to Holmberg's viewpoint, Moore 1993 theory of transactional distance states that when learners and instructors are separated by space or time, it is defined distant education as the universe of teacher-learning relationship that occur when learners and instructors are separated by space or time. Both synchronous and asynchronous delivery formats are included in this description. So transactional distance theory is conceptually important because it claims that in distant education, the most relevant distance is transactional, not spatial or temporal. Interaction has been a crucial feature in distant education systems, thanks to the advances in communication technology that have made synchronous and asynchronous interaction more accessible. Prior to this advancement, distance learning was frequently compared to face-to-face or classroom learning. The use of such comparison studies has dwindled as the results have consistently shown no meaningful difference. Moore provided fresh insights to the dynamics of distant education programs and pointed toward new and essential research directions by putting transaction at the center of distant education. So, moreover, Moore and Simmons and Scholars Proposition 1995 claims that new telecommunication had a significant impact on schooling. Distant learners and instructors can see and hear each other and teach and study in an almost the same way as they would in a local classroom, thanks to the interactive systems like the communications network. This equivalency idea was developed in this atmosphere of virtual interaction. The independence of the learner is at the heart of distant education. A fourth method is establish, emphasizing learner independence and recognizing that every learning teaching situation contains 4 elements: a teacher, a student learner, a communication center, and something to be learned and taught, according to Kagan 1986. So this is our conceptual framework. So this is figure 1, the schematic diagram of the study. So we have 4. The effects of having 3 times a week synchronous classes. So that's support for the students' motivation, learning pleasure, relevance of the study, creating rapport, engagement of the students, and the intervention program.
Good day, everyone, especially to our advisor and to our panelists. Good morning. I am Jocelyn Yagong, and I will be continuing the discussion. To begin, let's start with the methodology. This part of the study will go into detail about how the research will be conducted. It specifies the participant, materials, instrument, design, and procedure of the study. Next is the research participant. The researcher will be conducting a survey of 150 BP students of Tagum College using random sampling method. Next is the material or instrument that will be used in this study. In this study, only one set of instruments considered. The set deal with the effect of having 3 times a week synchronous classes among BPE students in the COVID era. The researcher will be adapt the survey questionnaire of Homburg 1989. The set of questionnaire deals with what is the level of effect of having 3 times a week synchronous classes among Bachelor of Physical Education student and University of Mindanao Tagum College in terms of support for the student motivation, learning pleasure, relevance of the study, creating rapport, and engagement of the student. The instruments were delivered in questionnaires using the 5-point Likert scale. The higher the scale, the more strongly the respondent agree with the statement or the item. Descriptive statistics were derived from interpreting the collected data by calculating the average and deviation standard. And these are the interpretation, which is 5 is strongly agree, 4 is agree, 3 is uncertain, 2 is disagree, and 1 is strongly disagree. And next is the research objective. The study is to determine the effect of having 3 times a week synchronous classes among Bachelor of Physical Education student and University of Mindanao Tagum College in the COVID era. The following questions were considered through discussion, especially for question number 1. What is the level of effect of having 3 times a week synchronous classes among Bachelor of Physical Education student in University of Mindanao Tagum College in terms of support for the student motivation, learning pleasure, relevance of the study, creating rapport, and engagement of the student. For number 2 question, what is the dominant prevailing effect of synchronous virtual teaching among the Bachelor of Physical Education student? And third question is, what is or are the possible intervention to address the effect of synchronous virtual teaching among Bachelor of Physical Education student? And that's our statement of a problem that seek to answer in this study. Next is the design and procedure. A quantitative non-experimental design with descriptive survey method is employed in this research. This research involves gathering of data in order to answer questions pertaining to the current issue of the research problem. Moreover, Graviter and Forzano in 2018 state that the survey is a type of descriptive research. Survey research is used to have description of certain group of individual. This research is using a survey as a research design because its purpose is to have a description of the effectiveness of school from home in the University of Mindanao Tagum College BPE student impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. After the approval of the panel, members of the researcher will be underwent the following step and procedure in gathering data for the study. The researcher asked permission from the Office of Superintendent to conduct study to the BPE student in the COVID era, basis for the intervention program in Tagum College, Tagum City, Division of Davao del Norte. Upon the approval, the letter of endorsement was sought to accommodate the researcher to administer the survey questionnaire to the respondent of the study. Moreover, the researcher made another letter to conduct the study to the BPE student in the COVID era basis for intervention program in Tagum College. Likewise, the researcher asked for the approval from the program head of BPE department to distribute survey questionnaire to the BPE student of Tagum College. The researcher personally handed the questionnaire and explained the research tool and its purpose. Furthermore, researcher retrieved the survey questionnaire after the respondent have answered all the items. Finally, the researcher tallied and tabulated all the data gathering from the respondents, subject to the statistical analysis. The statistical results were analyzed and interpreted. With the data, conclusions were drawn and recommendations were formulated based on the finding of the study.